very close to an energetic gate which carries an astonishing energy of love and truth, which will no longer be denied on this planet.
Toast to my new religion. You're a ghost of my tears, and I cry 'cause I am free now, and you try to meet me here, but I'll be gone, I'll be gone. I've been waiting to run so long. I'll be gone, I'll be gone. So boy, just get along, get along. You and your admission, I'm a child, teach me to learn, and I call on my suspicion. In your eyes, I'm a child to burn, but I'll be gone, I'll be gone. I've been waiting to run so long. I'll be gone, I'll be gone, disappearing to the dawn, to the dawn. All the million eyes you watch you play them like your violin. You hold them in your hands but never ever let them in. You call upon the ones who go before us, turn to stardust. Oh, I know that we can get back to the garden, the garden. A toast to my new religion, and I lost all the things I found, and a host of good intentions. Oh, I promise I'll be good next time around, but I'll be gone, yeah, I'll be gone, and I've been waiting to run so long. I'll be gone, I'll be gone. So boy, just get along, get along.
Welcome to True Reality TV. This is Aurora, and this is our Inside LoveHasWon series. I'm sure that many of you found us or are watching this series because you saw the HBO documentary about Mom and about the team and LoveHasWon. And I feel that probably all of you were left with more questions than answers, which is fair enough. And it was an interesting experience because, you know, we haven't really talked about this like on our platforms or publicly since the doc. And that was just simply because, you know, no matter what you thought about us, that's fine. But it was our real lived experience. And it was our true journey. And I think we as a team needed to like process a lot of things since that came out. And we've just been on a journey of, you know, healing, processing, kind of unpacking our own journeys with it all. Because I think for each of us, we've processed this and unpacked it in different ways. And we had a full spectrum of response, which was to be expected. The full spectrum of responses, anywhere from you watched it and you were like, this is absolutely insane, and you hated mom and you hated us. And that's fine. We definitely are no strangers to criticism. We're no strangers to judgment. We're no strangers to people just absolutely hating us, or, having a lot of opinions. And I'm grateful that mom was who she was. And I think one of the greatest lessons, there's a lot, but one of the greatest lessons that she taught us was to just be true to yourself. To be true to who you are, and to own your own story, and to own your own journey, no matter what anybody thinks about it, and to not live in fear of judgment. Because I think as a humanity, we do live in that fear of judgment, and it deprives us of authenticity. It deprives us of truth and realness, because we're trying to meet these expectations of others, or we're trying to be liked, or we're trying to be accepted. And I think those are all very human wants, but it does it really puts you in a place where you're afraid to be your true authentic self. And so we had that spectrum of response. And again, that was to be expected. And then we had people who I think watched it and probably were very triggered by certain things, but also were genuinely asking us to give context, asking us to kind of fill in these gaps, in trying to kind of understand more of what they just watched. And then we had, the other end of the spectrum, with a lot of people reaching out to us who really deeply resonated with some part of it, whether it was the story, whether it was something we said, whether it was mom herself. We have had a lot of people who just reached out and resonated deeply with something that they saw. We've had a lot of people reach out who've had very profound spiritual experiences. And maybe this helped them to make a little bit of sense of it. There was people who said they've been having dreams of mom for years and didn't know what they were dreaming about, who they were seeing. And when they saw her face or heard her voice, they realized it was her. There's been people who said they've had dreams about us way before the doc even came out. So there's been this full spectrum of these kind of very synchronistic and magical responses. And then, the other end of the spectrum, which again is just part of the gig. So, our feeling was that once we had gotten to the place where we could kind of process and unpack this whole journey ourselves, we wanted to tell the full story from start to finish, to answer some of those questions that just weren't answered, right? And so to give some context is that you have to understand that mom's journey specifically, her awakening journey, her ascension journey, spanned over 14 years. And for a lot of us on the team, our journey with mom spanned anywhere from 3 to 10 years. So you can't fit all of that into a 3-hour docuseries. It's just not possible. So that's why I think everyone was left with more questions than answers. And we want to fill in those gaps. But so for those of you who watch this, no matter where you are on the spectrum of what you felt from it, all that I think we would like out of this series is that you listen to it with an open heart. I think that a lot of Mom's teachings will really resonate for people, even if you don't agree with her or you agree with our mission. But there's a lot that I think is very important for people to hear. And so watching this, I hope people seek to understand, because we're in an age of this planetary ascension, which we will get to and talk about, of just how that intertwines with this. But we're in an age where humanity and the collective is so lacking in raw, real transparency and authenticity. You know, everything that we see in our world is very curated, right? Like anybody that you look at who is in some sort of public position, or people know them and they're well known or whatever, they have a very curated image to them. They only let you see what they want you to see. Because again, I think judgment is such a deeply ingrained energetic within humanity, that we judge what we don't understand. We judge what makes us uncomfortable. We judge things that are different to us. And this is what keeps us as a humanity very, very divided. First of all, it prevents us from being our true selves. And secondly, it prevents us from actually living as a world and as a society that is based in love. Because everyone just wants to be liked. They want to be seen in a certain way, whether it's through social media, whether it's at their job, again, whether it's a public figure. They are showing you an illusion. They are showing you a curated, very specific image of what they want you to see, so that you like them, so that you support them, so that they feel accepted, so that they can get some sort of validation. And Mom just wasn't that way. And we weren't that way. And so a lot of the questions, I think, regarding the doc that we got asked was like, did we feel it was an accurate portrayal? Like, how did we feel about that? And I'm going to let every team member speak for themselves about that, because we all have different perspectives. I would say that yes and no. Was it accurate, right? It's like Mom did really believe in transparency, and that's something that she taught us. And so what you saw in our interviews or in our footage and documentation was real and authentic. It was truthful. But at the same time, right, there was a lot missing that maybe would have given someone a different perspective. And so I felt like in order to tell this story in its entirety, we have to start from the beginning, the very beginning. And if we don't do that, then none of what you saw will make sense at all. None of the present moment of now, leading up to the present moment and talking about that, none of it will make sense unless we start from the beginning. And, one of the funniest lines in the doc is when Aaron said, creation is messy. And ain't that the truth? Is that truth is stranger than fiction. Always has been, always will be. And this is why people avoid the truth. Because it is messy. Because it is raw. And because it is uncomfortable. And I feel that most of humanity is running away and hiding from what is uncomfortable, from what is raw, from what is truthful, because it's too much for them to digest. But this is the age of awakening. This is the age of truth and transparency. So here we go. So I'm going to take you on a journey through this series, and I hope that it at least gives everyone a different perspective Maybe some part of it resonates for you. Maybe it helps one person make sense of something, because mom's journey, our journey is everyone's journey. It really is. We're all one. And so we've got to start back at the beginning. And so we've got to start with the story of creation, right? We got to start all the way back at the beginning of how did we end up here? And so we have to address the very first lie in order to do that. And the very first lie was that God is only a man, that there is no feminine God aspect, that there is no mother God. And that's where we have to start, because that was one of the biggest lies ever told. So everything I'm going to share as far as this storytelling journey is information that mom shared with us from the information she received from the etheric, from the galactics. Now, there's also many other people out there in the world who talk about things similar. So there is different people and different information out there that will also say the same thing. But the stories that I'm going to tell are specifically what she shared. So, take it as you wish. Here's the story of creation. So we do not know when creation actually began. I don't think there's any amount of linear time that we could even conceive with our brains, because remember that this third dimensional plane, this material realm, operates in linear time, but the cosmos don't. They don't operate in linear time. So there's really no number that I think we could put on it to make it make sense, but it's a long time, right? So in the beginning, there are only two energies in existence that make up everything in the universe, and that is love and the unknown. Because love is source. It is the essence of source. And the unknown is all that there is. Everything in existence, right? All the energy of the cosmos, it's unknown, right? It's a constant unfolding story of creation, of probabilities and possibilities, chaos and order. So love and the unknown are the two energies in existence, and that was all that was present. Now, of course, many feel that whether or not you believe in God as a being, I know some people resonate just with the energy of spirit, with source, right? But we have to also understand that all energies in creation are based off the yin and the yang. Every energy, every essence is yin and yang. So from mom's understanding and from her access to this information, there was love in the unknown. And at some point, she, which is the feminine essence, which is prime source creator, because the feminine essence, yin, is what creates life. So I'm sure many of you have heard the term as above, so below, right? It's the same. So the yin essence, the feminine essence, creates life. It is the creator force of the universe. The masculine essence, the yang, has a very equally important part. Nobody's saying that it doesn't. But the masculine essence is not the creator power. It is not the creator force. It is the executor of the feminine essence. It is the direction, the execution, the movement of the feminine essence. So prime source is feminine. So at some point, Mom, Mother God, Mother of all creation, prime source creator, whatever you want to call it, birthed herself into an actual self-aware, self-conscious essence, right? It's easier to tell this story when you imagine it as a being. So Mother of all creation birthed herself into an individual experience of love in the unknown. And she then created and birthed from herself the masculine counterpart, Father of all creation. Okay. Now they took this story and created the flip of the Adam and Eve story, where somehow Adam creates a woman. And this is the flip of the true story, which is that Mother herself birthed her divine masculine counterpart, Father of all creation. Now, they began creating everything, right? This was the beginning of God, Source. We refer to it as the Mother and the Father Godhead, because together they make up Source. It's the masculine and the feminine, but Mom is the prime source, meaning the prime emanation point. The mother, the feminine, births all things. So together, this is the story of how creation began unfolding. So together they started to create planets, universes. They started experimenting with creation, right? To have that experience of having individual essences and creating together. And this is where the story of the 144,000 comes from, is Mother and Father together birthed, created the 144,000, which are the original soul fractals. So we interpret the 144,000 as essences, right? The archangels, the Elohim, the angelics. These were the original souls created. And this is also where the understanding of having both a yin and a yang part of an essence comes from. So it was, 72,000 pairs of masculine and feminine. So that soul group was the original soul group that was created by Mother and Father. And so together as a family, as a cosmic family, they began creating everything. This is where we get the planets and the galaxies and the universes and the experience of creation. Now, we are not sure, and Mom never specified how long that went on for. But what she did know was that approximately 19 billion years ago is when the split in creation occurred. This is why, in the doc, when you hear Mom say or there was parts referenced about her being 19 billion years old, that's not even entirely true. It would be, her essence is older than that. But 19 billion years ago is where the story takes a turn. Now, again, we don't have the full thing, right? Was this a part of the overall divine plan? Was this an anomaly that happened, right? Because creation is an experiment. Everything is an experiment because it's unknown. There is nothing in creation that is fully known. I know down here in the human mind, everybody thinks they've got it all figured out. They know exactly what's going on. They know that 2 + 2 = 4. I'm just saying that creation doesn't know. Creation is unknowable because it's always evolving. It's always changing. The only constant is change. So we don't know why exactly the split occurred, but that's the way the cookie crumbled, and it did. And so the fall from grace that happened was one of the archangels, actually, Jehovah, who was one of the 144,000 and was an archangel. And at some point, he decided that he wanted to be his own God. He wanted to have his own individual experience. Because remember, with mom and father and the 144,000, it was a shared experience, right? It's what we call unity consciousness. Everyone was having the same experience together. And Jehovah decided that he wanted to have his own experience outside of unity consciousness. He wanted to be his own God and do his own thing. Again, was it part of the plan? Was it an anomaly? Did something go wrong in the experiment? We don't know, right? But all things work for the highest good. So Jehovah splits from unity consciousness. And at some point, there are other fallen angels that go with him. And this is when the darkness appears. This is when darkness is essentially created, because before that, it was all light, right? Everything was pure source energy. And this is the first time that we see darkness emerge. And what is darkness? It is the absence of light, meaning it is the absence of love. It is the absence of source. And so when you separate from source and you enter darkness, which is you're separated from source consciousness, you're separated from love, you cut yourself off from that. You lose your co-creator powers, right? Because your co-creator powers, we are all God with God, because we all come from source. But you don't have access to your co-creator powers if you're disconnected from source. So Jehovah and the other fallen angels quickly realized that their powers were no longer there. And so the only thing that they could do is either they have to take, right? They had to overtake planets through war. This was the Galactic Wars. They couldn't create their own planet. Okay, they couldn't create their own divine species, right? Like many of you have heard of the different galactic races that are popular, right? Like Lyrians, Syrians, Andromedans, Pleiadians, Arcturians, right? Those were all creations of Mother, Father, and the 144,000. But Jehovah and the fallen angels quickly learned they can't create races. They can't create planets. They can't create universes. So what now? Well, now they learned how to dominate through force, through war, through violence, and this would be more of a spiritual warfare. They could only take and steal and dominate. They realized that the only way that they could continue creating was that they had to utilize the consciousness of those still connected to source. So these planets that were filled with divine races of beings, the only way that they could keep creating was to basically hijack those creator beings into creating what they wanted. They had to manipulate, they had to lie, they had to create illusions, right? And so darkness starts overtaking creation. Ensue galactic wars. Planets were getting destroyed. Races were being enslaved. And this started creating just hell, chaos, not divine chaos either. And so this is where you start getting the lower realms. You start getting dark energy. And so these galactic wars have been going on for 19 billion years. And those who are on the awakening path, and many of you who have contact or experiences with the etheric realm, will know that that is true. Now, at this point, mom and father have to come up with a game plan here. How are we going to do this? And so they came up with the plan that mom herself, the essence of mother of all creation, because she's prime source, she could not go down into the darkness. All of creation would then fall into darkness if the prime source descends there. So that couldn't happen. Mom had to stay in the light realm and to keep creating, because again, that is the essence of the creator. It has to keep creating. So Father God, Father of all creation, his role within this was he went down into the darkness, into these lower realms, into these planets that have been taken over, into these areas where divine races had been enslaved, right? And he began to start mastering the darkness. So Father of all creation has a double agent role at this point. Just think of him as a double agent. He's serving the light, but he's got to go down into the dark because he had to understand what was happening. He also had to start mastering the darkness. Basically, this was all research that would be sent back to mom and the other galactics of how are they doing this? How can we fix this? How is the darkness operating? Because remember, this wasn't known. They had never experienced this before. So he became a double agent. And in his lower essence, when he was in these various dark realms, mastering the darkness, he became known as Lucifer. And this is why Lucifer is known as the light bearer or the light bringer, because that is his double agent role. And so the dark saw Lucifer as this very powerful dark master. And they began to worship him. Meanwhile, little do they know that Lucifer actually works for the light. So the plan was, Father, Lucifer, is going to start mastering all these dark realms. Basically, he was to figure out how this is working, get a mastery over it, and start eradicating it. Now, in the meantime, as I said, mom had to continue on in the light. Creation has to keep creating. But she needed also a masculine counterpart because everything is yin and yang. So she then created her second divine masculine counterpart, Father of the multiverse. This is the Holy Trinity. Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Who do you think the Holy Spirit is? I've never heard a good answer to that question. The Holy Spirit is mom. And that's who they cut out. Because they don't want you to be connected to source. That's the whole goal here. Is that they don't want you to be connected to source, because you know what will happen? You will have your co-creator powers. So Father of the Multiverse was created, and he has kind of this dual role where he's holding these father energies, but he's also a son, right? He's also representing kind of the child aspect, right? Of the mother, the father, and the child. So he keeps creating with mom. And at the same time, there are these galactic wars going on. Now, this has gone on for a long time. And what I will say is that Earth is the final planet that holds darkness. All the other dark realms have already been cleared. All of the planets that had been overtaken, and then were, of course, when a planet's overtaken by darkness, by force, by violence, by manipulation, by, whatever, it will fall into a lower realm. Okay, so just quickly, the third dimensional realm is the lowest realm that you can really go to, which is here, Earth. You have the fourth dimensional realm, you have the fifth dimensional realm, and the fifth dimensional realm is basically the baseline. After that, there's infinite amounts of realms, higher realms, infinite amount of dimensions. But the fifth dimensional realm is really where creation starts, because the fifth dimensional realm, this is why I think people get confused of like, oh, all this new age 5D stuff. And it's like, no, the fifth dimensional realm is unconditional love and above. Everything existing below the fifth dimension, the fourth and the third, are disconnected from unconditional love. They are disconnected from source. They are disconnected from unity consciousness. So from mom's understanding, all other planets have already gone through their ascension process. So what is the ascension process? It is essentially raising that species or that planet back up in vibration to where it is operating at unconditional love. It is reconnected to source. It is now a part of unity consciousness, which means it has regained its connection to creation. All other planets have ascended. All other species have ascended, except for here. So why is Earth so important? And I think if we look back in history, there were many beliefs along the way. And this is why I think it's so deeply ingrained in humanity of we're the only ones existing in the universe and it's just us and it's all about us. And obviously we're not the only ones existing, clearly. But this is a very important planet for a few reasons. Number one is that Mother and Father created Earth. Now, if you reorder the letters of Earth, it's heart. Earth is in fact the heart of this particular multiverse. It is the center point. And originally, Earth was created as a fifth dimensional planet, which, by the way, you can still have physical embodiment in a fifth dimensional planet, but you have more of like a light body. It's not as dense and heavy. And it was created as the Garden of Eden. And it was a place where all souls could come and experience somewhat of a physical life. They could come and play in the physical experience, because remember, a lot of these other planets, they are existing in higher dimensions where there's less physicality. It's all just energy. So this was a playground for creation. And Mom also used to say that that Earth was unique because we have physical resources, right? And that we're the only planet in existence that has two things, marijuana and chocolate, which I found funny. And so this was a playground. And so this planet specifically, this is why this planet was so sought after by the dark. Not only because of its resources. Now, if you guys have seen the movie Jupiter Ascending or Jupiter Rising, one of those two, I can't remember. There was truth nuggets in there where they talked about how these certain races, right, had to basically find planets where they could steal energy and consciousness and resources to keep themselves alive, the elixir of life. Remember that? And they would use planets like Earth as a harvesting center. That is true. They have been doing it for a long time because remember, when you disconnect from source, you lose your self-sustaining life force energy, right? Like we are all eternal. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed. So we are all eternal. But when you disconnect from source, you are not eternal anymore because you don't have that source energy running through you. You're disconnected from love. So they had to find ways to sustain themselves. And this was often through things like gold, right? They would utilize gold as some sort of elixir to keep them alive. They have to siphon consciousness. They have to steal resources. And they basically live off of our source sustaining connection. That's how they survive. It's like if you had a battery that was full and another battery that was dead, the dead battery has to steal energy from the full battery in order to keep going. And that's essentially what happened. So the plan was that Father would keep working in the lower realms to eradicate the darkness that was there, and Mom would work her way down as low as she could go. And they would meet in the middle for the final ascension, the final battle. And that is here, Earth. This is why the battle for Earth is so intense. And again, there is more going on than meets the eye. This is not really a physical battle. This is a spiritual battle. This is an energetic battle. And we are the final ascension point. And this is where the story gets very interesting. So stay tuned for the next episode where we are going to dive into the story of Earth. What happened? How did we get here? And where are we going? I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.
We are very close to an energetic gate which carries an astonishing energy of love and truth, which will no longer be denied on this planet.